Yo guys, what's going on? LifeOfRio here, and I'm bringing you guys some tips about doing survival once again. Now this is going to be a little bit different because majority of the community don't use this aura mod, and it is enemy radar. Enemy radar is by far one of my favorite aura mods in the entire game. Now to really understand the entirety of this mod, you got to understand spawning and you got to understand survival, because this is primarily where this mod is going to be taking place, in this and in like extermination missions. So if you look at the map, this is just animal instinct, which gives you 18 meters, and as you can see, look at the spawns, you can see to where the enemies become visible, and that's within 18 meters, and that alone, and that's on your companion, that alone is not enough to basically increase enemy spawning for you, which is going to be a thing that I'm showing you guys here right now. Now this is with enemy radar plus animal instinct, and enemy radar gives you 30 meters and animal instinct gives you 18 meters. Basically what I'm doing is anytime you start a survival, always run around. This is what you and your friends are going to be doing. As soon as you start that life support up, you're going to run around and find the rooms with the best spawns. Now the rooms with the best spawns are going to be the rooms with a lot of open doors, but it's also tricky because the mechanics in Warframe has changed over time. So a lot of people has basically struggled with enemy spawning and basically what are the best rooms. Now this right here is what I'm going to be showing you guys. And as you can see before, you only got the 18 meters from animal instinct, and so this is with enemy radar plus animal instinct, and these two stack together. Now as you can see, the enemies that's chasing me, even off the map, you can still see them with the map up there in the top left corner. You can definitely see that the enemies are still visible in a very high radius, right? So that's a really cool thing, and I'm showing you guys that's 34 meters, and enemy radar is only supposed to go 30 meters, but as you can see that they stack together. Now, it's a lot of changes that DE has done to the spawn system, especially in survival, and you guys know that this is all I play in this game, so this is the main thing of which I study. So with the enemy spawning in survival, it really changed up a lot in the past few updates. DE tend to say they want, you know, more consistency, but they really changed up a lot on how the enemy basically behaves. Now to understand enemy spawning, you got to understand enemy behavior at the same time, and those are two different things. So the enemy behavior is basically going to increase your way of obtaining more life support. And now just getting more enemies doesn't necessarily give you more life support, but having more consistent enemies increases your RNG chances of getting life support to drop. As you can see, me killing that guy and getting the mini life support, and that's what you want. The more enemies to kill, the better off your chances of not hitting one of the life support that Lotus has already coming in for you. And so by doing that, that also increases your time of staying in the survival longer. So those are things that you always have to understand. Now with doing this as well, you got to understand that this room, the room that I'm in, is one of the best rooms. You have at least 4 major points. The one that's in front of me, there's one to the left, there's one over there to my right, and the one that I entered through. Those are 4 major points in this room to where spawns are consistently flowing. Just go ahead and look at the map, as you guys can tell. Now this is the thing with this one. I want to show people this. I've been showing this in my streams a lot. When you stand on something that which is not the floor, on how the game is basically designed and how it entails, standing on the floor basically sends data to the enemies and let the enemies know exactly where you're at, because the enemies will then know that you're basically, you have your own enemy radar built into the database. Now look at the map on how the enemies are going away, because it put them in an unaware state to make it seem like I am no longer in the mission, and those enemies can no longer see where I'm at because I'm no longer on the floor and I'm not basically a radar for them to basically spot. You can rewind it and see how the enemy behavior is, because they were coming to me and then they definitely start backing away and going away because I am no longer there for them to basically tell. Now that's a lot of things that people do. If you stand on things that don't have the data already built in through how Warframe does it with their designing, then it does not tell enemies where you're at. It slows down enemy spawning, and basically it slows down your life support to where you cannot continue. Now, like I was saying, this one right here is enemy radar plus 30 meters, animal instinct plus 18 meters, and this is with enemy sense as well, which is the same thing as enemy radar, but it can go in your Excellus slot. and I'll tell you guys a little bit later about that one. So with all three of these stack. Now look at the map. Now one thing I want to teach you guys as well, from what a lot of people don't know. Now all of these tips that I'm giving you guys on how to do survival, it definitely goes into your day-to-day activity of whatever you're doing. You're just gonna have fun with it. And once you understand this, it makes things a lot better for you, because if you don't have the skills to play something, but as long as you have the knowledge, you're a great asset to your team, just as long as you understand whatever it is that you're doing. So the thing about this one, on what makes it great, is that having all three of these on is definitely an overkill. Having on two is definitely a thing that you're gonna have, because you're gonna have your companion with you. And then when your companion dies, 18 meters is not enough to help you out with spawns. And so I've talked about that in the beginning. So how does it help you out with spawns? Having the enemies highlighted on the map increases their alert level from unaware, because when they're unaware, they'll walk to you, and when they get into a certain amount of meters, they then go into a high alert level to where they then run to you. But when you have the enemies already highlighted, they naturally go into an alert level to where they run to you at a greater speed. So it increases your chances of survival, basically, because you get more enemies to kill, which increases your chances of getting life support. And as you guys can tell, how the enemies are running to me. And just like how I showed you in the last clip on how if you stand on certain things, enemies don't pay attention to you. And it's a lot of things like that in the game, which puts enemies into the unalert level and then make them alert as well. And DE has had that for a couple updates now, to where they should have fixed a couple things with enemy spawning and how it goes. I know previously, 2 updates ago, they actually updated it to where enemies can spawn in spots to where players used to camp, spawn behind them. Now the spawn feature is a little bit different, as long as you understand, especially in survival. What basically happens is that if you are not paying attention behind you, and it's basically an edge or a door, and you're at least 5 meters from the edge or the door, it now gives the enemies the same amount of time to basically spawn behind you. Now if the door is closed, you guys know when you run inside of a door and the door is closed, or when you run outside of a door and the door is closed, the enemies can now spawn inside of there to where they can come out and come behind you and kill you. It is the same as you being on an edge. If you're 5 meters away from an edge, it is counted as the same way as a closed door, which is not a bad way for DE to put it, because it keeps the mat going slowly through the game to where it's not too inconsistent. So those are things that you definitely have to understand. Basically, when I'm running with a frame, what I'm basically doing is that I take enemy sense with me if my frame don't have a dash polarity in the aura spot, because the enemy sense give me 30 meters, and 30 meters is freaking great, because you're gonna highlight them, which is gonna entail increase. Now see, most rooms, you have to understand how big a room is. This room right here, it covers the entire room, which is just enemy sense by itself. It will cover the entire room for you. Then you also have animal instinct, which is going to be there to add to the enemy sense. So you're going to basically cover your entire mini map, which is what you need. Also, what players should understand, a lot of people tend to think that if Vor is there, more enemies do not spawn, and that primarily only affects defenses, not in survival. Now you have to understand that there is an enemy limit in survival. So if there's an enemy limit, it's going to slow down the spawns unless you're consistently killing. So you have to kill as fast as the enemies are spawning. The faster you kill, the quicker the enemies spawn at the same time. It is, if you watch the map, no more enemies will even appear. And it is not because Vor is here. Vor doesn't affect the spawn rate in survival, and I've played multiple times with keeping Vor alive and killing Vor, and the same thing happens over and over again. So I really do hope that these tips really help you guys out, man. Also right here, as I'm showing you guys, that's enemy sense, which is the aura mod, and enemy sense, which is the mod that you can put in either in the Exilus slot, or you can put in just the regular Warframe slots, period. And that's if you have room for it. Now I would really like for you guys to try these mods out and see how much it increases your chances, and so you will know the rooms on which you can stay. And this is Animal Instinct. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button, and I will catch you guys later in the next Warframe video.